Truly a hit or miss series. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another episode of Poke Talk. In today's episode of Poke Talk will be a discussion regarding the Sun and Moon anime in 2018 and my thoughts. That's right, everyone. Despite the hate the Sun and Moon anime has gotten and still gets, I have been keeping up with it regularly, which has gotten a lot easier for me since they switched the broadcast day in Japan from its traditional Thursday night broadcast to Sunday in hopes of competing with rival shows and increasing audience numbers, which some may say will tell you all you want to know about Sun and Moon, but that's a discussion for another day. And so, with that aside, let's get back to the topic of today's discussion. So, Sun and Moon in 2018. I gotta be honest with you, although 2018 has been a better year for the anime in terms of quality and quote watchable episodes than in 2017, Sun and Moon has still pretty much been a hit or miss series. I think at this point, Sun and Moon is basically one of those either you love it or you hate it. You either love it and it's the best thing ever, or you absolutely despise it and you're never going to like it no matter how many times somebody tries to convince you. But with that aside, this year, like I said, has been actually better than last year. There have been what I would call 21 episodes that I felt were great episodes, and 2 arcs that I would even go as far as saying they were fantastic and very well done. That being the Necrozma arc and the Ula Ula Island arc. But yeah, so basically what this discussion is going to be, with that said, is I'm going to go through some of my favorite episodes from this year, all 21 of them. I'm not going to review all of them in length because that would take way too long, and I don't think you guys would want to hear a 2-hour discussion about that. But I do want to go over the highlights from these episodes briefly and why I enjoyed them so much. And like I said, although I think there's only been 40 episodes broadcast this year. To say 21 of them were actually pretty decent, that's pretty good compared to 2017, which I think, if I remember correctly, there were only 8 episodes that I really enjoyed out of 2017 in total. But again, I'd have to go back and double check, so we're not going to worry about that. So with that being said, at risk of further rambling, let's move on to these episode lists. And like I said, these are all going to be in chronological order. They're not in any list depicting favorite from least favorite. We're just going to go in chronological order, starting from the episodes in January and working our way all the way into December. So, with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so the first episode of 2018 that I really enjoyed was Sun and Moon episode 58, Don't Cry Marini. And I know this episode was a filler episode, but you got to admit, one thing Pokemon does great, even in series that aren't really fantastic. Black and White is a good example of this. Don't get me started on my hatred for that. But one thing you got to give it is that when they do a James development episode, they do it right. They pull out all the stops. In fact, I'm convinced in some series they put more emphasis on the James development episodes than they do Ash's development sometimes. And although that does get really annoying, and I argue with people about that left and right, I do think it's true, and I really do think Sun and Moon 58 is a good case study for that whole argument to make. Don't Cry Marini. It was a really good development episode for James and Marini. You could really tell how close those two have become, despite only being partners for a short time within the Sun and Moon series at this point. It was a really good episode. It was very emotional. It was comedic at the same time. And it just had a little bit of everything. And I think that's why Sun and Moon episode 58, Don't Cry Marini, really stuck out to me. The next watchable episode from Sun and Moon 2018 that I really did enjoy is Sun and Moon episode 60, Lily Soars Through the Air, the Pokesled Jump Tournament. And although there wasn't really a whole lot in this episode in terms of battling, it was a good development episode for Lily. And I hate to say it, Lily's development episodes have arguably been the best episodes we've gotten out of Sun and Moon. The Ash development episodes have been kind of, how should I put this? They've been kind of lackluster from series past, but they've really pulled out all the stops with all the Lily development episodes. And even people that hate the Sun and Moon anime, when you ask them, well, do you have at least one favorite episode? If they do have at least one favorite, they may have 2 or 3. Almost all of them are Lily's development episodes, which I do find hilarious. But with that being said, Sun and Moon episode 60 was a really good development episode for Lily and Snowy, And of course, we saw Aura Veil there, and it really did showcase Lily's development in a not so serious, not so dark tone, because that was the other thing about Lily's development episodes. Her development episodes were really, really dark. Like, and I know that they're playing off the game story and all that, so you kind of expect that, but it was nice to see a light-hearted Lily development episode for once. And again, maybe that's why I enjoyed episode 60 so much. But anyway, with that being said, that was episode 60, Lily Soars Through the Air, the Pokesled Jump Tournament. Next up on the list of really good episodes from Sun and Moon 2018 would have to be Sun and Moon episode 63, Blaze Litten, Overthrow Incineroar. And this episode was a good development episode for Litten, and it was a really good development episode for Ash, in my opinion. Litten arguably has been the most developed Pokemon we've had in a long time as far as the whole backstory, the whole emotion behind it and everything. And that is one thing even I got to give Sun and Moon credit for. This series has actually put more emphasis on the Pokemon's development than the humans' development in some points of the story, which, it's refreshing because that's more of what the Pokemon universe is about, is Pokemon's development, not so much the humans' development. I think the humans' development is sometimes expendable, but again, that's just my own opinion. But anyway, back to the episode of Blaze Litten, Overthrow Incineroar. It was a really good episode, and it showed the rivalry that Litten is going to have with Masked Royale, or Kukui's, Incineroar there. And it's very interesting that they even went so far as to play off the game story of nobody knowing who Masked Royale is, although the cover does get blown several times through later on in the series. I think it's neat that they're trying to keep this a secret from Ash and the classmates for as long as possible. And there are just some of those moments that happen where you're like, how can you not tell? I mean, I know you're oblivious, Ash, but come on, how can you not realize that this is going on right under your nose? But anyway, I got to give it to Kukui's being real subtle about it. Anyway, that being said, episode 63, really good development episode for Litten, had some really good battling in it. Loved Masked Royale's character, still do to this day, and it's an interesting rivalry that I'm hoping we're going to get to see more of in 2019 as we come to the conclusion of the Sun and Moon anime. Next up would be Sun and Moon episode 67 for me, and that episode is Shining Love, Spinning Poipole. And I gotta be honest with you guys, the Poipole concept, although I wasn't a big fan of it as far as when it was first unveiled, and even a little bit within the games, I wasn't really a big fan of it. I got to admit, this arc for Poipole was handled very well in the anime. They really pulled out all the stops with it here. And I'm really disappointed that, spoiler alert, in case you guys haven't been keeping up with the series or have fallen behind, Poipole doesn't stay with Ash. I was really hoping that he was going to stay throughout the whole length of the series, although there has been some evidence and some speculation to support it that there is a possibility that he will return by series end. I don't know, but yeah, it was a really good episode for that. All the Poipole episodes were pretty well done when the emphasis was put on him specifically. But yeah, this episode was really good, and it really just kind of opens up the mysteries to what we're going to see later on down the road with Poipole in the end of the Necrozma arc there. Next up would have to be, for me, Sun and Moon 73, which is Team Rocket's island visit, Get the Z-Ring. This is the start of the Ula Ula Island arc, I do believe, if I remember correctly. And like I said, this arc was actually really well done. In fact, every episode in this arc is on this list, so I think rather than go through all of these episodes, I'm just going to go through the episode titles and just review the arc as a whole, because literally every episode from this arc made it on the list. So this arc, pretty much like I said, includes Sun and Moon episode 73, 74, 75, 76, and 77. 73, of course, is Team Rocket's island visit, Get the Z-Ring. It was very interesting to see Team Rocket get the Z-Ring there, and I find it ironic that they hold more in common with Nanu, he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy. it's complicated for him. He's a complicated character, and it was really interesting to see that he had ties to Giovanni and Team Rocket there. Of course, Team Rocket is completely oblivious to this, but at the same time, it's interesting that Nanu has links to Giovanni, which, I mean, isn't all surprising because in the games, Nanu is a member of the International Police, so of course he's going to have some knowledge of Giovanni, but to think that he could have worked with them at one point, it's just very, very weird, and I think it shows that Nanu is an incredibly complex character, and I really wish we get to see more of him. But yeah, that was 73. Then in 74, we have The Big Old Thug is an Island King. That is episode 74. And that, of course, is when Ash learns that Nanu is the island kahuna of Ula Ula, and, of course, loses that battle to him. And then this, of course, drives Ash to be like, well, what are we going to do now? Then we get into 74, episode 75, which is the training session with Kapu Bululu. And I think this is very interesting that Kapu Bululu, although he knows Ash is like, nah, I'm not going to help you, Kapu Bululu is really, really lazy. And in fact, that was pretty much the concept of the whole episode. Ash wants the Kapu Bululu to train him, but all he wants to do is just sleep. And he really has no interest until later on in the episode when he sees what Ash and Lycanroc are really going to go through and what they can do. And then he helps them. I think that's kind of saying there about how their development wasn't all the way there. They weren't fully grown. I still think there's more room for an improvement between these two. But I think it's neat that we had this emphasized by none other than the Tapu of Ula Ula. And of course, another aspect, and this is not relating to the episode in any way, this is relating to the arc. Another character that we saw a lot of in the Ula Ula Island arc, and I'm upset that we didn't see more of her despite one filler episode that comes later, and we're even going to talk about that, is Asorla. And I really liked her character, and she was just kind of like the sister character to Ash throughout the Ula Ula adventure, and it was just very interesting to see her character. She was really well done in the anime, but anyway, that aside about her, let's move on with more of the Ula Ula Island arc. So, of course, like I said, there's episode 76, which is the super decisive battle with Pikachu and Mimikyu, which, of course, is Ash and Pikachu going up against Team Rocket and Mimikyu. And this is the episode that I really did enjoy because it played upon the Z-Ring episode for Team Rocket earlier on, and I think it was interesting once again that Team Rocket is more in line with Nanu than anything, and that these guys were going to be the boss that Ash was going to have to clear in order to face the island trial. And it's very ironic that all these series, Ash has wiped the floor with Team Rocket. Finally, Team Rocket actually has an advantage over him, and every so often you watch Ash get pummeled, and it's like, this is payback for what you've done to us for these past 19 years, kid. But anyway, that's just a side rant of mine. I really do think that this is kind of ironic revenge, so to speak. But yeah, it was actually a pretty tough trial for Ash. Most people said, oh no, Ash is going to wipe the floor with him. It's not going to be a challenge at all. And fortunately, that did not turn out to be the case. It was an actual challenge, which was refreshing to see because, you know, sometimes I think they go too easy on Ash. But anyway, that argument aside, that was episode 76, the challenge between Mimikyu and Pikachu. Next up is Sun and Moon 77, which of course is the grand trial of Ula Ula, the battle with Nanu, and Lycanroc awakens. And this episode was really, really well done. I really enjoyed the battle. It was very neat to see the whole Z-move versus Z-move aspect there. And of course, watching the growth between Ash and Lycanroc throughout the episode, of course, and watching Ash get headbutted by Lycanroc and knocked flat on his butt was kind of interesting too. I was actually laughing at that, and you could really feel the emotion there. And then, of course, we have the very end result. Ash does not get the Dark Z Crystal, as a matter of fact, because Nanu's like, you don't really fit the type for a Dark Z Crystal, kid. Instead, gives him the Z Crystal for Lycanroc's exclusive Z move. And yeah, that was That was a very interesting development there. And even Nanu's like, well, maybe I was wrong about you. And by the way, Nanu was a complete a-hole throughout this entire arc. And I just love that about his character. He was an a-hole to Ash, but it was able to motivate him and Lycanroc to go even further and ultimately clear the Ula Ula Island trial. So anyway, that was the Ula Ula arc. Like I said, every episode on this arc made this list. So rather than go through all of them individually like I have been, I just wanted to go over it as an arc as a whole. Overall, it was a really well done arc, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite arcs from Sun and Moon. Okay, so with the Ula Ula Island arc out of the way, let's move back to some of these episodes from 2018 that were notable, watchable, and enjoyable, in my opinion. Okay, next up is Sun and Moon episode 80, Sandshrew Storm Ice Cave Double Battle. Again, another Lily development episode, but this episode got on this list because it wasn't the dark and heavy development Lily episodes that we've gotten earlier in the series, but it wasn't a light-hearted development episode like episode 60 with the Pokesled tournament. This was a nice balance episode. This was a nice balanced development episode for Lily. Wasn't too dark, wasn't too light. It was nice to see Lily battling on her own for a change and just seeing how far she's come so far in the series. And of course, her working with the totem Pokemon to ultimately get the IC Crystal. But that was one thing about the episode. I really wanted her to catch the Alolan Sandshrew. I really did. I really wanted her to catch that thing, but I guess that wasn't meant to be because after all, it was the totem Pokemon. So yeah, Lily got the IC Crystal. Although she doesn't have a Z-Ring at this point, and she even says that at the end of the episode, it was very interesting that they did that rather than give her the totem. Although I really wish they had given her the totem. I cannot say that enough. I really wanted her to catch that Alolan Sandshrew because it just fit her personality, and it was just awesome to see it battle with Lily. But I guess we'll just have to settle for that. And of course, who could forget? We got Lily got the ice stone to evolve Snowy, but Snowy doesn't want to evolve. So Lily's going to hold on to it. I think it's going to become like with Ash, who has the Thunderstone, but Pikachu doesn't want to evolve with it, but Ash is holding on to it just in case that time ever came to where Pikachu wanted to evolve with it. Although, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section, I don't think Ash has the Thunderstone anymore. I'm pretty sure Team Rocket stole that back in Diamond and Pearl, but I'm unaware if he still has it up to this day or not. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know in the comments section because my memory is just a little bit foggy about that. So anyway, with that being said, like I said, Sun and Moon episode 80 was a really good development episode for Lily. It was a balanced development episode, and although I was not happy that she did not catch the Alolan Sandshrew, it was still a very good episode in my opinion and really well done. Okay, next up, and this is ironically one of the quote-unquote filler non-development episodes that people hate on Sun and Moon so much for, but I actually enjoyed this one, and that is Sun and Moon 83, which is Ash Becomes Small. Of course, Faba visiting the class and shrinking Lily, Sophocles, and Ash into miniature forms of themselves and not being able to fix them. It's kind of like that movie of Disney's where, and I believe the title is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I believe the English translation for this title is Dummy, You Shrunk the Kids. And I think that's interesting because now that Disney owns the U.S. broadcast rights to Pokemon, I thought that was very neat that Disney went that route and they actually played off one of their own movie titles. And it really is fitting for the episode. I mean, Faba, you are a complete dummy. You shrunk your boss's girl. You shrink your boss's kid, your head's going to roll, man. You better figure out how to fix this. And I think we even see a little bit of that of Faba throughout the episode. He's like, how am I going to fix this? Lucamine's going to kill me. But yeah, so anyway, although it was one of those filler episodes and people are really torn about Sun and Moon as a whole anyway, and although I saw a lot of hate against this episode, I actually found it funny. I was actually laughing throughout most of the episode. And again, I thought it was funny that Disney played off their own movie titles for the title for this episode. But with all of that being said, that was Sun and Moon 83, Ash Becomes Small. Again, probably the only filler episode that made it onto this list. Again, I just found it hilarious. I still laugh at it when I watch it every now and again. Okay, next up is Sun and Moon 84, The Shape of Family Poipol's Feelings. Again, Poipol episodes. They were good, especially when they focused on Poipol and the development to the Necrozma arc, the build-up for that. But it's also interesting because we saw Mina in this episode as well. And in the Japanese version, she's actually voiced by the same character that does Asuna from Sword Art Online. And when I was actually watching the episode, I made the mistake of watching it without my headphones in. And somebody actually came up to me and said, "Hey, new episode of Sword Art Online." And then they looked at that. They're like, "What is that?" Because, of course, they heard Mina's voice and they thought it was Asuna. Well, that didn't exactly happen. But it was interesting to see that nonetheless. Because although people don't like Pokemon, they instantly recognize, "Oh, that's Asuna from Sword Art Online." Oh, what are you watching? But anyway, I did enjoy the episode. It was a development episode for Poipol. It was very emotional. And yeah, it was a little bit of build-up for the mystery of the Radiant One and the Necrozma arc coming up very shortly after this. So yeah, with that being said, that was Sun and Moon 84. And next up, we're going to talk about another arc again, because we have made it to the Necrozma arc. The other arc of 2018 of Sun and Moon that I found to be phenomenal. Very well done. I loved how this arc was animated, and I loved the twists and turns that this one had taken in particular. So with that being said, the Necrozma arc consists of Sun and Moon episodes 87, 88, 89, and 90. So again, another short arc here, but this arc was another phenomenal one. So yeah, we're going to start off with Sun and Moon 87, A Crisis in Alola, The Darkness That Devours Radiance. Now, up to this point, we've gotten a little bit of backstory about Necrozma and Poipol, but now we're really getting into the backstory about the Alolan creation myth, about the Radiant One, who showed up one day, created the Alola region with its mysterious light. That light faded away, it withered into darkness, and then, of course, Solgaleo and Lunala, and then later on we learned the people and Pokemon of Alola shared their power with it to revive the Radiant One. And this episode kind of plays into that lore a little bit. When you play into lore in Pokemon, it's usually a good episode. The one interesting twist that I didn't see coming, but I really enjoyed, was the fact that even Gladion came along and joined the Ultra Guardians for a while. And although I got to admit, the Ultra Guardians is arguably the most childish and worst thought of part of Sun and Moon as far as what they try to do with it. It was still very interesting to see Gladion play along with such a childish concept, in my opinion. I guess that's how I got to phrase it. I don't have another wording for it specifically right off the top of my head that would describe this. So yeah, we see that going on. Crisis in Alola, The Darkness That Devours the Radiance. We watch Solgaleo being taken away. We see the appearance of Lunala in the anime, and Lunala in the anime was actually very well done. Lunala was very well animated. Of course, during this arc, we also see Dawn Main, Solgaleo, and of course the absorbed version of Lunala. Darkwing Lunala, I believe it is. If I'm wrong, correct me on that, because it's not right off the top of my head. So yeah, Duskwing Necrozma, that's what I think it was. Anyway, that whole discussion aside, just because it's not at the top of my head, let's move on. We see the battle between Lunala and UB Black, which of course is Necrozma, a full moon battle. In episode 88, we see that go down. Episode 89, we see the Prism of Light and Darkness. The name is Necrozma. We see Necrozma starting to come to light here. The legend unravels just a little bit further. The battle rages on against Necrozma. And then we finally get into episode 90, which is the final episode of the Necrozma arc, which is Connect to the Future, The Legend of the Radiant One. And this, of course, is the episode where we see Necrozma revive. We see Gladion and Ash work together using the Z moves for Solgaleo and Lunala, Moonlight Blaster and Sunshine Smasher, along with the power of all the people and Pokemon from Alola to revive the Radiant One. And the music for this was really well done. I did like the tones that they used for Necrozma, the music for the Z moves that the Island Kings and Queens, the Kahunas, send their Z energy to the Radiant One. It's just very well done how this arc was overall, in my opinion. These episodes were all very well done, very fantastic. And of course, we had the break heart moment at the very end where we see Poipole separate from Ash and just be like, no, I'm going to stay here in my world because now the light has returned to my world and I'm going to stay here to help, guide it on to the future. And then, of course, we see the gang go back to their world. And, of course, the Radiant One, Necrozma, show itself to everybody on the island, much to their shock and horror. And it was even interesting that we saw Team Rocket play such an intricate role in trying to get Necrozma because they knew about the Radiant One, and they even sent an elite strike force to go get the Radiant One, and of course they ultimately failed thanks to none other than Faba and Kukui. But with all of that being said, yeah, the Necrozma arc was a very well done. It was a fantastic arc, well animated. The music was well picked. The battle was intense. And overall, I really enjoyed that arc, in my opinion. It was one of the better ones from Sun and Moon in 2018. Next up on this list of enjoyable episodes that I enjoyed from 2018 has got to go to Sun and Moon 94. Great gathering of ghost Pokemon, Everyone's Haunted House, the Halloween episode. And I got to admit, this was one episode that was shocking. There were people that were shocked on Twitter when I said it was a good episode, and I enjoyed it. There were a lot of people that were even shocked that it was coming from me because, Sun and Moon's not my favorite series, and even people that love the series are like, well, what's this episode doing here? We don't even like it. But I actually enjoyed this episode. It was a good comedic episode. It was a very interesting Halloween episode. And, of course, we got to see Azorla again. And, of course, like I said, she was one of my favorites from Ula Ula, and I wish we'd seen more of her in the anime. But, of course, we see her, and she just pops in conveniently by chance on a Halloween episode. I mean, come on, she's a ghost-type trainer. She has a ghost, and, yeah, she just magically shows up, or coincidentally shows up, right on the Halloween episode. So, I mean, come on, you gotta love it. And again, it was just a goofy episode. It was a funny episode. It was just one of those episodes where you couldn't help but laugh. It was a good laughing episode, which was really good because I needed a good laugh that particular week when it came out. But with that being said, Sun and Moon 94, great gathering of ghost Pokemon, Everyone's Haunted House. It was a really funny episode, and that's probably why I enjoyed it more than some others. And I was legitimately laughing through this episode. I wasn't laughing in the, haha, this is pathetic way. I was genuinely laughing like, this is great laughing. I got to clarify that because even people were like, or you're being sarcastic if you're laughing at this episode. I'm like, no, I'm legitimately laughing. It's not a sarcastic laugh. It's an actual legitimate laugh. Okay, with that being said, we're going to move on. Sun and Moon episode 96 is the next one. Team Rocket and Stuffle. Again, a lot of people didn't really like this episode. I particularly did. I thought it was a funny episode, and it was a very interesting episode right at the end. The Beware gags are always going to be probably and arguably my favorite part of the Sun and Moon series. And this one, again, just tops it off because, of course, you didn't expect Beware to be the mother of this Stuffle there. Of course, we got to see Faba being scolded by his boss again. That's good, too. And, yeah, this was just a really interesting episode. And, yes, Lily, we get it. You're rich. Stop showing off by just randomly appearing at your friend's house in a jet. We get it. You have money. Don't rub it in. But anyway, that was Sun and Moon episode 96, Team Rocket and Stuffle. Again, a really enjoyable episode. It was a good moment there at the end for Beware, and it was always a good laugh. And I mean, come on, when you watch Faba get scolded just for being him, it's a good episode. What can I say? All right, next up on the list, and we're almost done here. We're in the final 3 good episodes from 2018, in my opinion. Next up is Sun and Moon 97, Dartrix at the Artisan, and Sleeping Rowlet, the How episode. I've always said since day one we needed to see How in this anime. I'm irritated that it took so long for him to be introduced, and just for one episode. I mean, come on. He's integral in the game, and yet you're waiting 97 episodes in to put him in here. I know they're doing it probably for a league rival, again, emphasized by the opening. I really do think that's what it is at this point. How is now the Alolan version of Sawyer, or the Sawyer Alolan form, if you will. But with that being said, it was a very good episode. I loved seeing the contracts between Dartrix and Rowlet here. And this episode now confirms that Cool Owl isn't going anywhere. The never-evolving Rowlet, because now he has the Everstone, which keeps him in Rowlet form forever. And of course, Rowlet's and Ash's unique battling ingenuity allows Rowlet to learn a move he should never be able to learn. So yeah, it was a very interesting episode. It was a very good battle episode, good introduction to Hau, the energetic, lovable goofball from Gen 7. And yeah, it was a very good episode for that. And of course, we now know that Rowlet will never evolve. Thank God, because I love that little owl. So anyway, with that being said, that was Sun and Moon episode 97. Next up, Sun and Moon episode 100. This is the next episode, so about 4 episodes later. And that, of course, is the alternate world arc with Guzzlord, the lightning bolt that severs the wind. Its name is Zeraora. And again, Zeraora, a mythical Pokemon. We saw it in the movie, didn't think we were going to see it in the anime. Of course we did. We got introduced to Guzzlord here, the alternate world. And I got to admit, one thing animes have trouble doing are time travel concept episodes. No matter what anime it is, when they try time travel, it never works. But when they try dimensions, the dimension crossing form of it, no matter what anime it is, it's usually pretty good. It's always easier to do cross-dimensional episodes than it is to do time travel episodes. So yeah, this episode just emphasized that point even more. I love the animation and the amount of detail they put into these alternate versions of the classmates to Ash. Some people have even joked that we've seen Red in the anime now. I'm not convinced on that, but that's just something that's been tossed around at this point. So yeah, again, very happy with this episode. Sun and Moon 100, they really do a good job at the cross-dimension episodes, and they're always so much better and so much easier to get through than the time travel episodes. Pokemon, you need to just stick to the cross-dimension episodes. Don't worry about time travel so much, because the time travel episodes are never a good idea. But anyway, side rant aside, let's move on to the final episode from 2018 that I really did enjoy, and that was Sun and Moon episode 101, Fire the Twin Gigavolt Havoc of Friendship. And again, this episode plays into the cross-dimension arc with Guzzlord here. Again, really well done. The animation was really great. The battle was good. The Zeraora having a rival in Pikachu, apparently by the opening and the episode, which is emphasized here. Again, very neat here. I do think we're probably going to see these two later on. Maybe in the Alola League. Who knows? Anything could happen at this point. But yeah, we see this go down. The Guzzlord arc is essentially over. And yeah, that was pretty much it for that series. So again, not a really deep arc, not a really drawn out one, but it was still good for what it was. Again, the cross-dimensioning stuff is always easier than time travel. But anyway, with that being said, that, in my opinion, were the best episodes from 2018. Like I said, it says something when they do 40-some episodes a year, and more than half of them end up on this list. Like I said, it did a lot better this year than it did in 2017. There's still room for improvement, and I do think at this point, there's not going to be any convincing. I think the community is pretty much going to be divided at this point. If you love Sun and Moon, you're always going to love it. If you hate it, you're always going to hate it. There's no middle ground. For me, it's hit or miss. It's not a good series. It's not a bad series. It's a different series. And I think this just emphasizes this point. 2018 really did have, up to now, the most rewatchable episodes, the most enjoyable episodes for this series so far, in my opinion. And the fact that we're almost done just kind of emphasizes all these points. So, with that being said, in the comment section down below, let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What were some of your favorite episodes from 2018? Just what are your thoughts on the anime as a whole? Are there some on my list that you agree with me on? Are there some that you don't? Or are you just like, well, half of these episodes that you liked are just complete trash? Just let me know what your guys' thoughts are about all this in the comment section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. Alright everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye everybody.